Hi everyone, and welcome to Noonchi, where I do a deep dive into some of your favorite K-dramas from a mental health perspective. Let's talk about StartUp, a favorite of mine of 2020. College students I work with were talking about it, and I saw it on the social media and blah, 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 and it kept popping up on Netflix saying, watch me, watch me. I started watching it casually going, hey, let me just see, one night. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I think I watched 3 episodes or 2.5 episodes in one night. Really got hooked in. I want to talk about episode 10 of StartUp, what Nam-do-san says to his dad. That is, to me, super powerful, very honest, frank, something I, honestly speaking, could not do with my parents growing up.
That one scene with Namdo-san and his dad where he confesses about cheating in his tests, getting that first prize, and then going to college and failing. I could relate myself to him a lot because a lot of Koreans and Asians, we all have a lot of pressure from our parents. And a lot of times we would put what we want aside for their approval and their praise. And even now, as a college student, I'm still struggling with that. What can I do as a student and as an only child to kind of make them be proud of me, or what can I do that I can get a lot of money so I can provide for them in the future, things like that. It's always the parents that are kind of the driving motive for me, and I think that drama kind of helped me.
He's basically telling him it's very hard to live up to these expectations of yours, right? I don't want that from you, Dad. You're not meant to be this perfect father. You're not my pride and joy, is what he says. The dad at first is like, what? Are you saying you're ashamed of me? And I cracked up because I thought that was reflective of our culture, right? It's very defensive at times, right? But that particular moment, he didn't even answer that. He just said, I just want to be father and son. And it did move his dad. Wouldn't it move you, parents, if your child, no matter how old they were, from teen to adult, whatever, says to you, I just want to be your daughter, your son. I would just want to be your child. I think that's super powerful. Our culture, there's expectations. I would call them the acculturative stressors, right? Being perfect, successful, saving face, filial piety, always constantly doing what we can to please our elders, our parents, our ancestors, right? And then authoritarian parenting, which is not the balanced parenting, which is called authoritative, but authoritarian, right? Following the lead of what your parents say to do, that's what you're supposed to do as a dutiful son. Nam-do-san was alluding to that. And there was a big scene before, no spoiler alert, but things basically explode because of that, right? Having to constantly fit this mold of, I'm this math genius. And that's what he's known for, and that's what his parents loved boasting about, right? They were very proud of that. But that's what he felt. He felt that burden of, is that all I am? Am I only that pride and joy for my parents because of that? Or that accomplishment when I was little, and then even going to college and middle school, right? There's lots to brag there, of course. And that is a big part of our culture, education and achievement. That is understandable. However, how sustainable is that? For our own emotional, social, psychological well-being, we need to think about that. That's our mental health, right? Something you think about all the time. It's important all the time. From the moment you wake up, from the moment you go to bed, your mental health is at the forefront. Park Chan-ho signs this baseball for Nam-do-san when he's a kid, and he says, follow your dream. Follow your dream. That seems pretty important because, again, the father was saying what his dream was for his son, and the son was asking him, hey, what is my dream? And perhaps that's the dynamic that's going on in your family. But parents, I want to say this. I understand that. I have kids. I have my own dreams for them, but that's my own dreams for them. That's not necessarily their dream. Suicidal ideation. Yeah, I'm going to talk about a grave statistic here because I think it's important to say is pretty high among Asian Americans, actually. And there's so many, I don't want to say so many, but there are tragic stories that I hear being a mental health clinician where someone takes their own life, a young student, young professional, because they feel like they can't live up to the expectations. What I'm assuming, right? Because it's not like I talked to them, but I've heard things and cases that I've worked with where they felt hopeless and felt like they couldn't follow their own dream, or they wanted to and felt forced to do something else and they were unhappy. Or perhaps something else, they felt like they could never live up to their parents' expectations and felt hopeless, helpless. and then took their own life. Those are such tragic stories, but it happens. It happens in our culture. We know the suicide rate, the numbers are climbing. We know it's high. I do want to talk about that because going back to what Nam Do-san says here, he's saying that. It's not even a plea. It's very matter of fact, very frank, very honest. I don't want to just be your pride and joy. I want to be your son. I want you to be my dad. I don't want you to be my pride and joy dad too. It's not about you being the perfect father. Can't we just be? Really, really, really powerful stuff. I hope that you can say that, kids, no matter how old you are, to your parents, that you just want to be their child. You want them to just be your mom and dad. How nice is that? I would have loved to be able to say that, but I did feel like I was constantly walking on eggshells. That really did a number on my own emotional well-being, physical well-being. Gosh, the tension, I can still feel that tenseness and the heart palpitations of the stress that I felt that I wasn't living up to expectations. And parents, we have our own expectations for our kids. We should. We want to push our kids to be very successful, do well, yes. But put their emotional, social, psychological well-being at the forefront, please, for them to be successful, right? Our job, parents, is to empower our kids towards self-efficacy. Empowering them towards self-efficacy, which is being able to be solution-focused, be able to be confident on their own, delve into their own resources and resilience, to be confident in themselves and what they have for themselves that they can offer to society, right? Their talents, their strengths that you want to foster, not necessarily you want to mold into replications of yourself. They are already offsprings of us, right? Parents, they're already your offspring. That's what it's called. But that doesn't mean that you mold them into you. And perhaps that's what you're used to because that's how you were raised. And I'm not denying that part of our culture. I just want to point out that is not necessarily healthy. So when Nam Do-san says, let's just be father and son, yeah, there goes the chung. That's when I felt both sides of it. I felt myself being a kid again in that moment, but also a parent saying, yeah, good point. Are my kids my pride and joy? Yes, of course. But is it based on what they do and how I want to show them off and save face and prove that I'm successful to the world as a parent? That's a big part of the culture. And I want to say, yes, that is part of what I struggle with. But I think at the end of the day, I want them to be happy. And parents, mental health, we're talking about a lot, especially these days, is very important to the success of your child, to whatever that may be, not just in occupation and profession, but in everything they do with their relationships, their own self-actualization, individuation. We want to have them be interdependent, but you also want them to be independent, right? That's to be successful. So I love that part, and I hope you understand that that is, as a parent's job, to empower our kids towards self-efficacy, okay? And kids, for you to empower yourself towards self-efficacy, to understand that you need to follow your dream and be able to share that with your parents. And that could be a whole nother thing we could talk about, but always, always understand this. Start with your strengths, not what you don't want to do. No. Right then, the parents get defensive because they're telling you what they want you to do, and you're telling them, no, you don't want to do that. That doesn't work. You have to start with, always start with I am really good at this. So I think this is what I should do because I excel in this. And then you can say, yeah, I know you wanted me to pursue this way and you thought that I could do this and be this doctor and lawyer, but you know what? I think I could be this and go into nonprofits and lead this way and perform successfully in society in this way. That's what Nam Do-san is actually saying. That's the meaning behind his words. I don't want to just be your pride and joy. Let me figure out what is my pride and joy so that I can be your pride and joy. But for now, just in general, I want to just be your son so we can be happy. And Father, for you to be happy so you're not constantly feeling like you're being perfect for me. Wow, isn't that awesome? Daily mindful intention, being culturally confident in who we are, intersecting mental health, our identity, mindfulness, resilience, all comes into play and it takes daily work. So let's talk about being ourselves, our own pride and joy.